The history of Groton, whether it be written, verbal, or in graphic form, does not belong to any one individual. It belongs to and must be shared with everyone. The author of Groton Historical Bits and Pieces, James Streeter, our special guest today on Welcome to Groton. Welcome to Groton. I'm your host, Carol Pratt, and with me today is Jim Streeter, author of Groton Historical Bits and Pieces. Jim, thank you for coming on the program.
Well, thank you for having me.
I know this is going to be very interesting. I want you to tell me first, how did you become interested in local history?
Well, I believe it was right after I got out of the military in the mid-60s. I came back and I was a police officer, and you would speak with some of the old-timers on your walking beats, and they would relate stories about the town and the local community, and it just really involved me, and I said, I really want to know more about this. So I actually became involved back in the 60s.
Wow. Now, this is not the first book you've authored, is that correct?
That's correct. There's two previous books that were co-authored. Our town historian, Carol Kimball, Marilyn Comrie, and myself put together two pictorial history books on Groton.
Okay. Now, this one's called Groton's Historical Bits and Pieces, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. What inspired you to write and publish this one?
Well, actually, the book is a compilation of articles or pieces that I wrote for the Groton Times newspaper. Okay. I've been writing articles for them for about 6 years now, and the distribution of the paper isn't widespread, and a lot of people were asking me about the articles. So I said, well, maybe it's time to put them together in a book and share them with everybody else. So that gave me the impetus to put the book together.
That's great. There's a lovely dedication there to one of my favorite people, Carol Kimball.
Absolutely.
Tell me why you dedicated it to her.
Carol is the true historian of Groton. She, and I often say when I give presentations, she has more information on Groton in her little finger than I have in my entire body. And she was actually a mentor for me in writing the articles, and we've worked very closely together on various subjects. And I think it's time that someone or the town or whatever recognize her contributions that she has provided to Groton.
Yeah. Now, she is retiring as the historian, is that correct?
That's correct.
Has anyone been named in her place to be the historian?
Not at this time,
no.
no.
Not at this time, okay. Now, you used this book as part of a Bill Memorial Library fundraiser. How did that all come about?
Well, I'm on the board of trustees for or directors for the Bill Memorial Library. And a few years ago, we were discussing fundraising. Like any nonprofit organization, they're always looking for avenues to raise monies to help the organization along. And I had the thought of putting this compilation of articles together, so I suggested if they wanted that I could let them have the proceeds for the book for their fundraising.
That's great. There are how many chapters now? 10, I think you said?
10 different chapters.
Okay. Well, we don't want to give everything away because we do want the book to sell. Tell me a few of the chapters that maybe are nearest and dearest to your heart.
Well, we have, like I said, 10 chapters. They're all near and dear to my heart, but the articles relate to the subject matter of the particular chapters. One is called Public Safety. In the public safety chapter, I give unusual information or very unique information about our police departments, our fire departments, our ambulances. There's also a 3-part series in there about one of our police departments during Prohibition, and there was a little bit of corruption going on, which I found very interesting.
Sure.
Then we have chapters relating to people that we should remember. There's 3 pieces on 3 different heroes. We have Robert Gray from the Civil War, William Seeley because of the December 7th attack on Pearl Harbor. And then there's another gentleman named Jim Baker, who was a diver that helped rescue, I believe, around 22 sailors from a sunken submarine.
Yeah. Now, William Seeley's the only one I know, so that'll be fascinating to read about those other two. Back to the public safety, did you work with the state, because you worked for the state police at one point, right? Or,
yes, I retired
yes.
in June from the State Police Forensic Lab.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Now, did you work with them at all on this public safety chapter?
There's one piece in there that I interviewed a retired state police officer, and little bit known to a lot of people, at Avery Point, where the University of Connecticut has a sub-facility.
Right.
The state police used to have their training academy there for several years. So there's a piece in there about that. But most of it, came from my research, interviewing other people. I'll relay one story. There were actually 2 state police barracks in Groton at one time.
The one on Thames Street?
That's the second one.
Ah.
And I always thought that was the only one.
Yeah.
And I was out with my best friend, God rest his soul, he passed away, but we were out socializing one evening, and he mentioned where the state police barracks was down at Pfizer. And I said, no, you're wrong. The state police barracks is on Thames Street.
Right.
And he said, no, it was down by Pfizer. Well, I didn't think anything of it till maybe about 10 years later. I had a liquor store. And there was a woman that came in. She was 92 years old. God bless her. She'd make a purchase every week. And I asked her, I said, do you recall where the state police barracks was down by Pfizer? She says, yep, I got my driver's license there. And the following week, she came in with a photograph of it. And that photograph's in the book.
Isn't that something? No, I never heard about that. Isn't that something? What is your absolute favorite, well, it's got to be hard, but is there one particular favorite story you have in the book?
Well, I think one that I really personally have some feelings about is a story about a Coast Guard mascot from the old Coast Guard training station down at Avery Point again. We at one time became involved in restoring a lighthouse at Avery Point.
Right.
And walking the campus, there's a grave marker stone for the mascot, Duffy.
Now, where is that located? I've never seen that, and I've walked on that beautiful walkway there.
If you go where the turnaround is, just past the little police station, it's on the right, facing Eastern Point Beach.
Really?
A grave marker there, and it says Duffy, and it gives his rank, and it mentions mascot U.S. Coast Guard. Well, for years, we were trying to find out the background on Duffy, and nothing came about. In fact, we had a newsletter for the Lighthouse, and we asked people, if you have any information, could you provide it to us?
And the college knew nothing about it?
College, they had no background. I spoke with several sailors that had been stationed there. They had no information. And probably 5, 6 years later, I was at a local restaurant, and there were some women that came up to me and mentioned that they knew that I was involved in the Lighthouse, and one of them said her husband had been one of the original people stationed at Avery Point with the Coast Guard. And she said, I'll bet you don't know about Duffy, do you?
Oh, isn't that ironic?
So
wow.
within an hour, I was at her home interviewing her husband.
Yeah.
And he provided the information about Duffy. Gave us a description, and that he was actually the mascot for the security people, the sailors that were assigned to security duty at the facility. And they mentioned some cute stories about how short and squat he was, because he had special breakfasts every day, which included a large plate of bacon and sausage. So that was close to me, because for years we had tried to find the information on it. And incidentally, another thing that's very interesting about it, and I don't have the answer, but every year somebody changes a plastic flower by the gravestone.
Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
And they do it every year. Now, was this a pedigree dog, or was he just a mutt? Or?
No, it was a mongrel. It was a mongrel, and I won't give the away, but there's a cute description of him in there.
Oh, I'll bet.
And in fact, the couple, or the gentleman and his wife, are trying to find a photograph. They have a photograph of the dog in uniform, and they're trying to locate that now.
Oh,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be great to
Yes,
get that?
it
Oh,
would.
I never knew that. I'm going to take a walk down there and see if I can find that. That's fascinating.
It is.
Yeah. And now, hopefully, the rest of the Coast Guard knows about this.
The Coast Guard has contacted me. about information concerning the Lighthouse. So that's going to be part of the information I'll relay to them.
That's
yes,
great.
certainly.
That's great. Tell me some of the other chapters that you have in the book. Just the chapters. You don't have to give things away.
Well, we have some events, the chapter on events, and in that one there, we discuss the 1938 hurricane. We give some unique information about that. There's a three-part series, like I said, about rum running in there. And then there's a story about when Jacqueline Kennedy visited Groton for launching.
Oh,
and,
yes,
there was an after-dinner party at the old Griswold Hotel. And one of the individuals I interviewed was a youngster at the time, and today with the Secret Service and all the security controls on the president and the president's family, they hid underneath the porch going up the stairs and saw Mrs. Kennedy at that point. So we have that chapter.
Wow.
I did do a chapter on maritime and lighthouses. Lighthouses are dear to my heart.
Yes.
And fortunately for Groton, we have the Avery Point Lighthouse. We have a Morgan Point Lighthouse.
Now, where's the Morgan Point? Is that
That's
Noank?
in Noank. It's in Noank.
Okay.
And then a lot of people don't realize that we have the New London Ledge Lighthouse, which actually is in Groton. If you look at the charts, it's in Groton. The crib for the base of the lighthouse was built underneath the Gold Star Memorial Bridge and towed out there.
So why do these things get named New London?
Well,
because it's the county of New London?
It's the county of New London, and for years, Groton was part of New London until the early, we're 300 years old.
We're going to take a short break, but please stay tuned. We've got a lot more interesting conversation with Jim Streeter.
Inactive activities on a glorious day. Let's get out there and play!
Sweet.
There are lots of great play ideas online.
Is that thing getting closer? Look how high that thing's going. Look out there, look at the debris. Give me the camera. No, just drive, I've got it. Zoom in, zoom in. I can't believe this is happening. Oh, look the size of that thing. It's everywhere. Are you getting this? Yeah, I've got it. What was that? It's the National Guard. How'd they get here so fast? I don't know. Pull over. Pull over.
Do you have what it takes to head into the heart of the storm? Check out NationalGuard.com.
It seemed like a good idea. My daughter would have a party at our house. I thought if they were going to drink, it would be better for them to do it at home where I could keep an eye on them. I even bought the alcohol myself. I thought it would be safer that way. And I guess I just wanted to be a cool parent. I didn't know that what I did was illegal, and then I could end up here.
Time's up.
I have to go.
Mom! Mom!
What?
You can't find Ichabod.
What?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
Welcome back. We're talking with Jim Streeter about his new book, Groton, Historical Bits and Pieces. Jim, you have these wonderful 10 chapters, but how do you come up with the topics that you're going to cover?
It was difficult. If there are, like I said, 70 articles, about 70 articles in the book, out of probably, if I wrote 45 a year, and I've been writing them for 6 years, so there's over 200 articles I've written. But what I did was I took the book apart, or the articles apart, and separated them into piles. Originally, I had like 30 different chapters, and I knew that the book publisher would only want 8 or 10. So I took the different subjects that I felt were, they were interesting, but they were also related. Maritime, shipbuilding, and lighthouses. So that's all maritime and lighthouses. When we came to events and happenings, Well, you have the 38 hurricane, but then you also have things like the police corruption. So that's events and happenings. So it was difficult, but it was fun doing it, and I came up with the 10 things with the help of my wife also. Yeah.
It's good to mention that.
Yes, it sure is.
Now, with that volume of articles that you've written, do you have plans to write any more?
Absolutely. I have taken a hiatus. I've taken some time off. I don't believe I've written one in the last 6 months. But the newspaper and I have talked, and they would like me to start writing them again. So in the last 3 months, I've been doing research on about 15 different articles I have that I feel are of interest to the readers. And I have completed the research on at least 5 of those. To give some ideas, I want to start off with an article about the 7 different Grotons that are located throughout the country.
Now, the only one I know, because of my work with the Senior Center, is there's one in Groton, Massachusetts. Where else?
Well, there's one in Groton, New Hampshire. There's one in Groton, Vermont. In fact, I have a second home in Groton, Vermont.
Oh, really?
There's one in Groton, New York. Then we have Groton, Ohio, and Groton, South Dakota.
Oh, my goodness.
So they're all over.
Yeah.
And each one is unique. Like Groton, Connecticut, if you say, well, what happens in Groton? Well, we build submarines and we have a large pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
Well, if you talk to Groton, New York, that's where they built typewriters.
Oh, I'll be darned.
So it's an interesting topic to research.
Yeah.
Then there's one that I'm going to write on the old Christie Plating Company that we used to be down toward Bridge Street. Where we used to chrome plate parts for the military.
Oh.
In fact, I remember when I was a policeman, we used to take our badges down there, and they would chrome our badges
Oh,
for
I'll
us.
be darned.
Yeah, but they closed down in the 70s.
I don't remember the business. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
I'll be darned. Yeah, and I've been here all my life. But what about all these rare photos and things? There's some beautiful photos in this book. Where do you come? You can't possibly have all those in your possession.
Well, my wife calls my collection stuff.
Oh.
It's historical information, documents, and photographs. As far as photographs, the last time I looked, I have all my photographs. I download them onto the computer. My last inventory I looked at, I have over 6,200 images.
Oh, my Lord.
That are relating to Groton history.
And those came from residents or where?
They came from residents, friends. Of course, I've purchased several here and there. I go to antique shows and garage sales, and don't hesitate. And if I'm talking to a person about history on a specific subject, I'll ask them, do you have photographs?
Right.
And if they do, then hopefully most of the time, they permit me to download the photographs, because all of my collection is going to be relinquished to the newly established Groton Historical Society.
Oh, yes. Now, talking about that, because I know with, when I spoke with Carol Kimball, there's the Mystic Historical Society, but there never was a Groton Historical Society, which was...
Not per se, no.
Yeah.
We have the Mystic Historical Society, the Noack Historical Society.
Yeah.
We have the Indian Colonial Research Center. We have New London, which is actually like New London County Historical Society.
But no specific Groton one. So when did this one form?
Well, we started working on it about 3 years ago, and then about a year ago, we received our nonprofit certification from the federal government.
Wonderful.
Right now, the facility, the spaces to store our materials is graciously the Avery Copp Museum.
Oh, wonderful.
Has provided a space.
Which is another great place people should go visit.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But, and I always tell people, we're not in competition with the other historical societies.
Oh, I'm sure you must all
We're
work
just
together.
going to coordinate. We're going to be like the traffic cops.
Sure.
If we don't have it at our facility, we'll tell you that, well, it's located in Noack or Mystic or New London.
Right. And you
hopefully-
share information
Absolutely.
too, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there are people that have collections, and they'd like to relinquish them to make sure that they're shared by everybody. And that's part of that. The history doesn't belong to me.
Right.
It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to everyone.
Right, which hopefully people, when they are going through old photos, it's best to donate them to something like the Historical Society or museum, because many times there's relatives who don't care about the old photos. You
Absolutely.
know? And there are people in the town.
I tell you stories that make your hair stand on end. When I was in the police department, we used to take photographs and we developed them, and I'd spend hours on midnight shift looking at the old photographs from the 1930s and 1940s. So after I became involved in the history aspect of Groton. I went back to the police department to see if I could borrow some of the photographs, and I was told, no, we threw them all away. So history was actually thrown away, and it's disappointing, and you're absolutely correct. There are families that may look at something and say, it doesn't mean anything to me, and we'll just throw it away.
Yeah. Oh. Now, this is a great gift, especially for this time of year. Where can people purchase this book?
Well, as we talked earlier, the proceeds are going to the Bill Memorial Library.
Right.
So that's the primary location where you can purchase those.
Okay.
However, there are 2 other locations that have them, and that's my sister's store, Ken's Tackle Shop on Thames Street.
Okay.
And Buford's Restaurant, where I have breakfast every morning.
Oh, yeah.
And talk to the old timers.
Right on Pequannock Road.
Pequannock Road, and I talk to the old timers there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I have some of them also.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Now, is there, if people have rare photos like we just talked about, or they have information, articles or things like that, do you want them to send them to you? Do you have contact information you'd be willing to share?
Absolutely. I have a phone number. Of course, I have to add the 860 now.
Yes.
860.
How many times I've redialed this month?
445-5417 is one way. And the other thing, if they're out and about this weekend and or next weekend, they'd like to chat, we have a book signing at the Bill Memorial Library on the 19th, Saturday the 19th.
Oh, wonderful.
From 12 to 3. And if they'd like to come in and chat, and if they have some information they'd like to relay or some photographs, be happy to take them for the society.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. We talked about you planning to write more. Would you you think there would be enough stuff to make another book in the future? I mean, not right away, but...
There certainly are sufficient pieces to do another book, but I have ideas. In fact, I've started already. The next book that I would like to do photographically is what they call Now and Then. Oftentimes people say, Jimmy, what used to be here? And I'll provide them with a photograph of that. So I think it would be interesting for the readers to have a book, and it'd be a nice reference book of what used to be in a location at that time.
because some people don't realize, even now, that Pequannock Plains Park used to be Burroughs Field, and then, what was it we said, Frank's?
There was Frank
Frank's
Lewandowski
store,
had Frank's grocery store there, a little grocery store down at the bottom
sure.
of Central Avenue.
Yeah.
And then I'm working with 2 other people. We're going to probably collaborate and do a book on Morton Plant, one of the main contributors, I feel, to Groton, who
Well, gave the town hall, correct?
gave the town hall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Did you have this published locally? Just out of curiosity, do we have a I know we used to have 23rd Publishing in the Stonington side of Mystic, but
No,
do we
I
have
self-published
anything?
this.
You did?
Yes, and by
Wow.
self-publishing, I paid money to have it published and edited, and it was done out of Indiana, a company called iUniverse. The next one, I probably will use a local publisher for.
That's great.
Yeah.
Jim, thank you so much. This is fascinating. And again, can you give your phone number in case people have questions about the book or
Sure.
want to contribute to articles or photos?
860-445-5417, and we have that book signing on the 19th.
Yes.
12 to 3. It's a Saturday at the Bill Memorial Library.
That's terrific. Thank you again so very much.
Thank you,
Fascinating
Carol.
stuff. Before we wrap up our program, let's look at the upcoming town meetings for the next 2 weeks. Copies of Jim's book are available at Buford's on Pequannock Road, Ken's Tackle Shop on Thames Street, or you can contact Jim at 860-445-5417. Also, the book signing at Bill Memorial Library is December 19th from 12 to 3. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you'll join us for the next edition of Welcome to Groton.
For questions and comments concerning Welcome to Groton, you can write to the Town of Groton, Connecticut, Town Manager's Office, 45 Fort Hill Road, Groton, Connecticut 06340. Or you can call 441-6630.